Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to say thank you for all your support on my channel. Today we're going to do some behind the scenes look at my TV show and Brian and Eddie's and Robbie's TV show called The Strongest Man in History. A lot of you guys have questions about it, so let's get into it. The filming process was like, we'd get the events a couple weeks out and kind of see how they're working on it and stuff like that. We all fly in, kind of get settled in, kind of find out which process and which orders we're going to do the events in and stuff like that, what shots we're going to get, where we're staying, where we're going to eat. We'd all have to go grocery shopping at a Costco or wherever we could find the food in that particular town. Get our room set up, stuff like that, and then we go on the first day of filming and we film stuff. They scheduled the show basically to where you'd have the first couple days where we're kind of hitting shots and takes and stuff along the storyline or the person that we were covering, and then like the last 3 or 4 days is when we do the events, the last day being the heaviest event. So we had all that time to heal and get ready for that last big one. We usually went kind of either medium or light, medium, and then the heavy one. So it's kind of, you plan your training. I would always do my legs right before we left, so that when we got there, I had all that time to heal and I was fresh and ready to go for the day the heavy events were going on. You know, Brian was busy training for World's Strongest Man and for the Arnold, so his training schedule had to be very much stuck, or not stuck, but very much directed towards that, and justifiably so. If I was doing those things, I would have done the same. But, and then Eddie's training was basically to kind of mirror Brian and help Brian, and so was Robbie's, and then I'd come and help or hang out or whatever else. It was great. I mean, doing stuff and getting to train with all 4 of them was amazing. It was a lot of fun, and I learned an awful lot still. I mean, if you're not learning constantly, you're gonna fall behind. So it was really neat getting to do that and experience that with those guys. So, but we'd shoot through the week, and then we'd have a day of wrap. That last day, the very last day, we would do interviews for a couple hours and sit in a dark room and do lines and stuff like that, and kind of wrap at the end of that day. And then we'd have a big dinner that night, or usually something go on with the whole crew, and then the next day we were on our planes and heading off. So my favorite episode, it's really hard to pick, but I'm gonna have to say probably the Paul Anderson episode out of all of them, because I idolized Paul Anderson growing up. I knew who he was and all the things that he did, and it was really special to go to his actual house, go under the house where he used to train, see his old weights, see his old dumbbells. It was probably one of the coolest things we got to do, and then to do that silver dollar squat, and then the hip lift, or the carousel lift, was just amazing. And his family are such great people. And the best thing about Paul Anderson is he left a legacy that's still there. You can still go to that boy's home and see it and watch the kids and watch the youth that he's helping still today. And that's pretty amazing, because a lot of people that have the ability to do that don't do those things. So it's pretty neat. He was a great man through and through. So another question that I get about the show from a lot of people, was anything faked? And I'm gonna say no. Some things were adjusted just because we couldn't go back in time and do the exact same thing, like the Thomas Tomlin lift. When we were doing that, we used a yoke bar instead of the strap. The strap was just gonna be too, for the most part, dangerous for us to do. And they couldn't really get the whiskey barrels that were full, so we had to use, you know, weights down underneath the thing to lift. That's how they got it up to the 2,000 pounds. And then, like other stuff, like when we're throwing the tee boxes into the water, we're not wasting, you know, 200 and whatever pounds worth of tea, throwing them into the harbor. So, I mean, they were weighted correctly, but yeah, so in actuality, nothing was faked. We just had to alter a couple things just due to circumstances. And in all actuality, a couple of things we actually made harder on ourselves. There's one where we leg pressed the car, and that car, the original stunt was a supporting stunt. So when Monty Saldo did it, he got everything locked underneath the car. So his legs were already locked, everything was locked. So all the weight supported on his joints. He never actually lifted the car, he just supported the car. So there were things like that where guys never actually lifted anything, they just supported the weight. Like when Eddie and Robbie were going head to head on that one arm lift overhead, the weight that those guys supported like that, where they were doing the small horse or whatever, that was already set there, and they just put their arm there and then straightened out. So they never actually lifted the weight. So when Robbie and Eddie are actually lifting the weight, that's much harder. When I was leg pressing the car, that's much harder than what they did in history. So just to give you an idea, we didn't really make anything easier on ourselves at all. So one of the epic shots in Scotland was me carrying the caber and hitting myself in the nuts with them. And there's a lot of questions on how bad that hurt. There was a reason why I took a knee. It did not feel good at all. It hurt all the way up to my abdominal cavity. It felt like my buddies kind of climbed way up in there and didn't want any part of that anymore. So yeah, it wasn't very comfortable and it did not feel good, to say the least. It was also extremely embarrassing because I did it right on camera for the whole world to see. So that's all I really got to say about that. A lot of people ask me, did I ever get hurt on the show? Yeah, I got hurt on the show. When we did the Thomas Tompkins lift and I did the 2,000 pounds, when I got to the top of that lift, I felt a whole bunch of stuff in my upper back just go, and it was not good. I mean, everything just locked up, my traps. So I either tore something, musculature in my upper back, and compressed a lot of the discs. It hurt really bad, and the thing is we had to go to Scotland like the next day, or we had a day off and then we got to go to Scotland. And then we had to start that episode, and within a week we had to try to do the Dinny Stones. And one's like 318, the other one's like 414. And so that really hurt. I was surprised I could even pick them up, much less get a couple steps with them, because it hurt so bad. I drove the guys crazy, and I still apologize to this day, because I was basically bathing in DMSO on my upper back, and it just reeked out of me everywhere. And I'd be standing next to Eddie or Brian, and they just look at me and shake their head, because they're like, dude, you stink. And it's like, there's nothing I can do about it, because it's such a good anti-inflammatory. It's what probably more than likely made it possible for me to do that lift. And then when I got home, we had 5 weeks before the next one we had to go shoot, so I had time to heal, and I felt better for the last show. The Vegas episode was really special to me because we got to do it in my home, and we got to do it in my hometown, and we got to go down on Fremont Street, and my wife and my kids were in it, and you know, it was a really special thing to get to do with my family, and it's always going to be probably one of the most endearing episodes to me, because the most important thing to me in the world is my family. So it was really neat to get to do those things and show the guys around my city and go down to the casinos with them and go down to Fremont Street and do all the crazy stuff that happened down there. And there's plenty crazy stuff down there that you didn't see, but I do think Eddie and Robbie posted it. But anyway, so you might want to go back and look through some of their posts. I was the one filming for them, but it was a good time. I mean, it was really fun, and it was really endearing to me. One of the other parts of it that was so much fun to see was Eddie and Robbie getting into a scooter race inside the Four Queens, because they got the little carts around for people who can't walk very well, and they decided to get on them, and they actually go really fast there. And so they're racing around the casino, and we're standing there with the executive VP of the casino. She's watching them roll around, and she about lost her mind. And we had to like get them stopped and get them off those things. But it was really funny. It was too funny to watch these massive men drive on these scooters and kind of like doing a NASCAR race, doing the Ricky Bobby thing where they're bumping into each other, going through the Four Queens. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the behind the scenes on the strongest man in history. If you like this, make sure you drop a like. And as always, train hard, train smart, and be the best you can be.